Good evening. Um, as long as propaganda goes, anyway, the American people are gonna believe whatever it is they want to believe about this issue. And I guess the issue is Syria, and the I guess the latest thing that's out in the news that there's war, there's going to be war in Syria, but the reason I don't think a lot of people follow it. The reason why there's going to be war in Syria is because Miley Cyrus is a whore. Miley Cyrus is a whore, and the Syrian people Assad doesn't really appreciate it. So they gassed their people, and it pissed off the United States and stuff. Blah 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 blah. Let's back up to I guess during the start of the Arab Spring and the Occupy movement. Um, the U.S., you know, uh, the hypocritical U.S., yes, I'm an American citizen, but the hypocritical U.S., while the Arab Spring was going on in Egypt, Barack Obama made a speech that was cited on Rachel Maddow's show, and that speech had to do with letting the Egyptians be free, letting the Egyptians engage in democratic process. Well, there's a video that I have out already talking about Egypt and what's going on with Egypt, but we're not talking about Egypt right now. We're talking about what's going on in Syria. I'll tell you where I was when this thing got first started in Syria, and that I was still in the National Guard, and I think I might have been like a couple months back from being deployed to Iraq, being deployed to Iraq, and this is when I first started going with meeting with the Occupy people because I was really interested in what was going on, and we had this wide base of okay, well, we connect the food around the planet, and basically what with the message we were trying to get out of that region was that they're pretty much tired or pretty much sick of hypocrisy, or yeah, they're pretty much sick of the theocratic autocracy that's been running that region forever, keeping them in fear, um, oppressing women or anything like that. I was I am pro secular. I'm not um, what you would call pro Christian because I'm not Christian. Um, all that said, what happened in Syria? Um, they had they had their spring, they had their protest, and what happened was the leaks that would get out was that the protesters were still unsure of who exactly were the protesters. We just know for a fact, for certain, that the regime that was in charge. And this is something that I kind of stood back and I did not want to give a opinion of that right away, but the things that leaked out was that I didn't know a lot about the Assad regime, and of course the Assads have done a lot of interviews, but the regime was broadly involved. Um, now with the I think Now, this is what I think what happened. This is not. Um, you'll probably have to go to another source to verify this. But I've been watching, listening to a lot of Syrian news, listening to Mimi Alahim, which I respect very greatly, very attractive. Yeah, yeah. But um, I can stand to believe that the extremists were already a part of the protesters then, and like they like we tried to do in South America. We had a few thousand people out there saying, okay, well, the Assad is bad, the, down with Assad, so that we can get a person inside of the government that the West appreciates, like the white West. Well, I learned something very recent. If I could table one thing, and I'll jump back to the point, but I learned one thing. Um, Libya, Syria, Egypt are locking arms with the African nations. Now, I never made a video about this, but there was a lecture in the in Cambridge University that was given by maybe I'll put some links on a little bit later, citing this lecture about the about Africa coming into the world, um, not the Africa continent as black nations are coming into the world view as being wealth holders. Now, the biggest concern with that was what they said in this lecture was the concentration of wealth being decentralized from England or where most of your white nations are over to the African nations. But what you have is Libya, Syria, Egypt lending over their support. And Saudi Arabia is doing the same thing too. But let me finish my point, and I'll talk about what Saudi Arabia pretty much give me the inclination that they're doing a thing that and Libya and Syria have done and are doing right now. And so Syria was one of those nations. Now, if I could go over to what Saudi Arabia is doing with Egypt, because I think they are directly related. And of course it's region. Of course it's regional. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, of course it's regional, but um, the players are identical, I believe. There's a lot of seculars inside of Saudi Arabia that are supporting the seculars inside of Egypt because the U.S. says, okay, when the seculars, we're going to call it a coup so we can refund the tax dollars. I'm not a person for giving them tax dollars anyway because our nation needs nation building, but the Saudis said for every dollar that the U.S. takes out, they would replace back into the system, which is I don't know if it's something that would move over towards the extending towards the Syrians. Um, if people don't understand that the reason why there's war in Syria because the white West and Barack Obama. Um, he ain't. I'm sorry, he ain't one of us. But the white West and Barack Obama has severe phobias of what. Yes, a severe phobia of what could happen when that happens, and that is that they lose their diamonds, they lose their gold, lose everything that they plunder out of Africa for a certain price. It has to start being fair to the African nation, which there's something they're not pretty much prepared to do. Well, I got to end it right here. So, but I'll be back on in just a minute.